Can I finally be taken seriously now that I have a green screen? What is going on, dudes and dudettes? Major Pineapple here, and I think Nintendo's gearing up for something major in 2021. This upcoming March, the Switch will have been on the market for 4 years, and as of now, it's sold over 63 million units worldwide. The Switch has even outsold the PS5 and the Xbox Series X when those consoles originally released, and that blows my mind. I even remember trying to find a Switch for my best friend and his fiance, now wife, and finding a Switch for my girlfriend and how hard but rewarding it truly was. I was also fortunate enough to get my girlfriend the Animal Crossing Switch. Boo? Yeah. It's crazy how powerful this console is, even if the hardware isn't even that powerful itself. It truly shows the power that the Big N and their amazing exclusives truly hold. Everyone's anticipating what Nintendo has in store for us in 2021, as 2020 was somewhat of a back burner of a year, but you know, we had COVID of course. But I think they're gearing up for an amazing 2021. I think the biggest thing that Nintendo will do is release a new revision of the Switch. The Switch has hardware comparable to the 360 and the PS3, hardware that's borderline retro now. The 7th gen is easily my favorite console generation of all time, but these games can easily be played on the 8th gen and especially the 9th gen. Hell, soon these will be playable on smartphones. I mean, would you really be that surprised if GTA 5 was on the iPhone soon? There's already news and rumors about new hardware being pushed into the Switch. Capcom is going to be using the RE engine in Monster Hunter Rise, and it's supposed to be a very demanding engine. And when Capcom told Nintendo that they need more power in order to run it, Nintendo acknowledged it and made it seem like there's going to be a new revision. Even Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity is supposedly running like rotten mayonnaise. God, I can't believe I actually wrote that. With how the chugs and frame rate drop. This is crazy, especially for a first party Nintendo game. They always have their games looking and running the best they can be. It reminds me of the original Hyrule Warriors on the 3DS, where the base model was borderline unplayable, but the new 3DS version actually had consistent frame rates and a bunch of enemies on screen. Mobile technology moves at a staggering rate, and I'm excited to see how the Switch evolves into a more powerful console. Plus, if you take in the fact that you can no longer buy an official Nintendo Switch dock and the partnership with Sharp TCL integrating mini LEDs to give the illusion of better picture quality, I'd put money down that Nintendo has something in the works. And if you look at previous Nintendo console timelines, it makes perfect sense. The 3DS released originally back in 2011, and the revision new 3DS released 4 years later in 2015. The Wii originally came out in 2006, and the revision with no GameCube support was released 5 years later in 2011. For now, let's just ignore the Wii Mini, even though the design is borderline flawless. So it only makes sense for them to release a new Switch in 2021 earliest. And I've made a video about what I want to see in a new Switch. If you want to see that, click the video right there. And I know I plug everything, but I don't really care. I also see this happening because Hitman and Control were just released on the eShop, but with a caveat. You have to play the games through the cloud. I think this concept is really cool. Being able to play these games that came out on the PS4 and Xbox One late in their life cycle on a handheld. Having the ability to play these games wherever you are in the same way of Stadia is really interesting. It makes it so anyone can play these games. And being able to play these games that came out on the PS4 and the Xbox One late in their life cycle on a handheld shows how truly far technology has come. But it's always going to be gimped because you need an internet connection. This is why I love gaming on my Switch. If I'm on a flight or a long car trip and I want to play Immortals Phoenix Rising or SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom or Animal Crossing New Horizons, I could play and not have to worry about needing an internet connection in order to play my games. And even though I love the concept of cloud gaming, I think the execution still needs some more work. Cloud gaming on the Switch is borderline pointless because if I need an internet connection in order to play a game that's that demanding, I'll just get it on my PS4 Pro. It's really annoying seeing the games that release between the PlayStation and the Xbox have the Switch version released months later, and Doom Eternal being digital only. Like, why did Assassin's Creed 3 have a 2-month delay when they already had the version on the Wii U? Nintendo clearly wants to have these titles on their console, but in order to do that, they absolutely need to upgrade their hardware. I highly doubt it will be able to play anything like a PS5 or an Xbox Series X title, but maybe somewhere near the mid to late PS4 and Xbox One games for sure. Imagine how incredible this would be, maybe having Sunset Overdrive on the Switch with the Microsoft Nintendo partnership they have, or seeing something like Batman Arkham Knight or GTA 5 on the go. So with what I believe in hardware being released, I think it's definitely going to be more of a revision rather than a successor. Nintendo said that they want the Switch to last around 10 years, and I think the best way to do this is treat this how they did the Game Boy or the DS or the 3DS. Think of the Game Boy to the Game Boy Color, the DS to the DSi, and the 3DS to the new 3DS. This opens up opportunities for some great games and software coming to the Switch family of systems coming out. Even though Doug Bowser said that the 3D All-Stars collection is a limited release for it being a celebration, I think they're going to release some kind of new virtual console. Inside the 3D All-Stars coding, data miners have found that the emulator used for these classics have the source code for other games such as Perfect Dark or Donkey Kong Country. I doubt they're going to use the virtual console label though. It's dead and it doesn't mean anything now. I still have fond memories though downloading classics like Donkey Kong Country and Super Mario Bros. And the original Legend of Zelda on my 3DS, but the Switch is using the new online label. While it would be nice to get Nintendo 64 and GameCube games as a bonus for Nintendo Switch Online, I think it'll be more of an approach similar to Arcade Archives. Maybe Nintendo 64 games are $5, GameCube games are $7, Wii games are $10, and I want to say Wii U games are going to be around 15 to 20 bucks, but legit, all the games that were must-plays on the Wii U are either already coming to the Switch, on the Switch, or have sequels that basically replace the originals. I'd still love to see Nintendo Land brought to the Switch in some way. Maybe the person who has the gamepad is actually on an app on their smartphone. It'd be very similar to Air Console or Jackbox Games. And I mean, Nintendo already has apps on iOS and Android, so it wouldn't be that hard to do. And screw it, let's see some Game Boy, DS, and 3DS titles make their way to the Switch for less than $10. Some of the best 3DS games got rebranded as Nintendo Selects years ago, dropping the original $40 price tag to $20, and I think $10 for some of these titles like Super Mario 3D Land is a fair enough price. I also think there's going to be a Zelda 35th Anniversary Collection. The Ocarina of Time copyright was renewed for another 10 years with something else added to it as well, so hopefully they'll port it over, but what I think would be better is using Wind Waker HD, Twilight Princess HD, and even Skyward Sword, similar to what they did with Super Mario Galaxy. But Nintendo, I swear, if you don't add the motion controls to Twilight Princess HD, I mean, I'm still gonna buy it, but I'd be kind of bummed out. But what I see happening realistically, Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, and Skyward Sword. I wanted Twilight Princess instead of Wind Waker, but Wind Waker is more of a definitive GameCube game, while Twilight Princess is more of a Wii and a GameCube game. This way, if they have Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, and Skyward Sword, they have more definitive generation titles. I think for sure we're gonna finally get the sequel to Breath of the Wild. By March, the game will have already been 4 years old and everyone is going crazy for the sequel. A ton of people think we're also gonna be getting Mario Kart 9, and as appealing as that sounds, I don't see that happening for a while. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the best-selling Switch game and Nintendo isn't going to replace that juggernaut anytime soon. Plus, we just got Home Circuit and it's kind of an appetizer to the main entree of Mario Kart 9. And because it's the Switch, I think we're definitely going to be getting some new ports. I could see the Arkham series finally getting ported over with Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad releasing soon, some new Microsoft-owned title like Banjo-Kazooie, and maybe some Kirby game for shits and giggles, I don't know. And on the topic of games, can we please make it so not every other Switch game requires a download? I buy physical games so that way I don't have to deal with a download, and I can just pick up and play a game whenever I want. And if we could get The Witcher 3 with all the DLC on one Switch game card, then Spyro should be just fine. And even though I'm not a big fan of this series, I just want Metroid Prime 4 so that way we could stop asking for this. One thing that I think would be really cool is if they had preview tours on the Super Nintendo World in Japan. It will be the only one open for God knows how long, and with travel bans, this would be such a fun way to experience the theme park. I think if Nintendo were to do this, they should make it similar to how they made the 3DS tour guides for the Louvre Museum in France. I think there's also a high chance that we're going to get some DLC or some cool updates for games like Animal Crossing and Age of Calamity, and I really hope that they honestly bring back Miiverse, Spot Pass, or Street Pass. Whenever me and my girlfriend go out, we never leave our Switches behind, and it helps incentivize handheld play. And for the love of God, give us an actual party and messaging system. The smartphone app kinda seems good in practice because we always have our phones on us no matter what, and you can kinda see it as like Discord on PC gaming where you just pop it up, but the phone acts as an extra peripheral when it should just be on the system itself. The 3DS and the Wii U both had messaging systems, so why doesn't the Switch? Imagine just setting up a USB or a Bluetooth headset or plugging something into the bottom of the Switch Pro controller or the Joy-Cons with a 3.5mm headphone jack. Actually, screw the Joy-Cons, that wouldn't be good, especially for something like fitness boxing. Anyway, dudes and dudettes, I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to click that like and subscribe button, and let me know down in the comment section below, what do you think Nintendo has in store for us? I think something like Metroid Prime 4 would be a bit harder to do, but I could definitely see some Metroid Prime representation on the Switch. Who knows, maybe they could remaster Federation Force. What can I say? I liked the game. I thought it was fun. I only have like barely 5 hours on it, but I thought it was fun. Anyway, dudes and dudettes, new videos on Tuesdays. Major Pineapple out.